So the world's worst example of cultural eutrophication is in the United States. This is just a fluke of geography. It just so happens that a whole bunch of North America is drained by one river, the Mississippi. And we've got a lot of nutrients in that watershed. If you look at the shared screen, you can imagine what I'm talking about. There's a lot of nutrients in the Mississippi watershed. Think of all those farms, right? The American heartland, the Corn Belt, plus huge cities, a whole bunch of huge cities. Think of all that wastewater. Like, if you look at this on the watershed level, we're all sharing one toilet, right? Like, all those people all have the water leaving through one point. And in this area, we've been developing for a long time. So before we realized how important they were, we got rid of all of our wetlands. So the world's worst dead zone from cultural eutrophication occurs where that water spills out. It's called it's called the Gulf of Mexico dead zone. And this is just like the perfect storm of all the problems. The water's already really warm, so it already has low dissolved oxygen to begin with. It's also really constricted by land, so it barely mixes with the ocean. It's almost like a lake, meaning once the nutrients go in, that water doesn't mix very well. If you spill nutrients here on the coastline of Santa Barbara, we've got the ripping California current. But the Gulf of Mexico is almost a lake. It's almost shut off from the ocean. It has very little mixing of very hot water to begin with this giant nutrient source. So it's kind of a perfect storm. It's kind of a perfect storm. Plus all the coastal changes, plus the fact that there's huge coastal cities that just dump stuff directly. So like all the stuff in Florida that just goes direct, not even the Mississippi River anymore, just the other stuff that's going there. So probably the most famous dead zone on Earth is the Gulf of Mexico dead zone. It's got the octuple whammy of all the bad activities, all the channelization and accelerated runoff, all the loss of wetlands in water that's really hot, so it already has low oxygen. And so if we need to be really clear, and I could repeat things for you, the nutrients that flush from runoff of the Mississippi watershed make huge algae blooms, which in and of themselves are not a problem because extra algae is just more productivity. So plankton comes and fish comes. But as all that life starts to die, it just takes a few days, and some of those algae reach the natural end of their life, and some of those plankton reach the natural end of their life. As all that dead stuff settles to the bottom and starts to decompose, the decomposers use up the oxygen. And so there's not enough oxygen to support life. We did this in study goal 25. And so you get this blob of lifeless water, and the size continues to grow. The average through most of your lifetime has been about a 5,000 square mile region of the ocean that cannot support life. That's the biggest on Earth. If the water moved more, you wouldn't get this. So here in Santa Barbara, if you dump that same amount of nutrients, it would just spread out into the Pacific. You would not have a concentration of dead stuff in one place because the water moves too much. But the Gulf of Mexico is just this really bad shape. All the runoff hits right when the days are getting longer at the end of winter, beginning of spring. So you already have these algae blooms that would be happening with regular old nutrient changes. And then all the human stuff on top of that is just like horrific, world famous, world's biggest. I don't know why I always smile. Like I smile because I'm used to smiling at my students, but I realize I'm just talking about bad news, so I seem like I am probably a sicko. I don't know. I just smile because of kids. I'm sorry. I'm smiling at you.